Magic the Gathering recently influenced the creation of two major games. One of them was an incredible success, the other an abysmal failure. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. We are here today to talk about KeyForge versus Artifact. I think it's an interesting case study because they're all tied together through the thread of Magic the Gathering. Now, I'm going to have to obviously give you some background information so we're all on the same page. Now, starting out, you've got Richard Garfield, who's the inventor of Magic the Gathering. He created Magic the Gathering and subsequently was actually involved in the creation of a large number of games, but we're just going to be using two examples, KeyForge and Artifact. I imagine most of you are at least somewhat familiar with those two. Now, Artifact is a digital card game. KeyForge is a physical card game. Now, that's not actually the factor. That's not the factor that determined which one would succeed and which one would fail. The factor, honestly, when you boil it down, it comes down to one simple word. It's really just greed. So let's take a look at what happened with both of these games, what was done wrong and what was done right to lead to Artifact basically imploding and just falling completely apart, even with the backing of Valve, the guys who own Steam and have obviously before that even made really successful video games. How were they part of such a massive failure? Both of these games, KeyForge and Artifact, Richard Garfield partnered up with two major companies, right? With Artifact, you have Valve, and with KeyForge, you have Fantasy Flight Games. So Artifact was a digital game. I mean, it technically still is. I treat it like it's dead. At this point, they're going to try and revive it in the future. They say, I don't know what's going to happen. But Artifact had an amazing amount of potential. A visually stunning game. Looks absolutely beautiful. People didn't really have complaints about the gameplay. The gameplay was just fine. Where did your problem come in? Your problem came in is that they looked at Magic the Gathering and go, you know what? We want our own digital Magic the Gathering. We want to be able to charge insane prices for everything, and we want there to be a secondary market. They tried to force a secondary market and influence the prices of the secondary market on their own. Now, while Magic the Gathering does do that to a degree with this master sets and other offerings, they don't do it the same way that Artifact did. Artifact charged for everything. If you wanted to play games of Artifact, it was going to cost you. Unlike Magic Arena, where you have the ability to buy stuff if you want to, but you can also grind for free, Artifact offered no free grinding any way to increase your collection. Basically, you have to pay them $20 up front. So Arena's free. You have to pay $20 up front for Artifact, and then you have to keep paying and keep paying and keep paying and keep paying for every single thing you wanted to do in that game. You had to reach into your pocket and hand them money for everything. And they were basing this off the cards will always be worth money. They had buyback programs where they would buy back cards from players and things like that to try and artificially maintain the prices of these cards at a certain level. But what happens, of course, the price starts to dip on the cards as fewer and fewer and fewer people are playing. It started out really strong, and it didn't take long before they lost over 99% of their player base as people just got disgusted and turned away from it. When there's no way that I'm dealing with this. This is absolute greed. All right? And then you turn around and you look at KeyForge, which is pretty much the opposite. Now, KeyForge, for those of you who don't know, is a fantastic game. I'm a big fan of it. There's certain things that I don't like that the company is doing, and I have covered those in previous videos. But overall, the game itself of KeyForge, it's fun to play. The setup of it is, instead of Magic the Gathering, where you go ahead and collect up the cards and build your deck, in KeyForge, the decks are already pre-built for you, and you cannot change them. Each deck is functionally unique. Every deck in the world is unique. There are no two decks that are the same. They all have their own specialized card backs so that you can't trade cards between decks. They're meant to be played as is. And the entry point, the price entry point for this game is super, super cheap. $10 will get you a KeyForge deck, and that's everything that you need. You can't change the deck, so you can't buy extra cards. Yes, the game can get more expensive if you choose to buy a whole bunch of decks, but a lot of people aren't going that route. You don't need to do that, and buying more decks doesn't make you more powerful, right? You can't combine the power of decks. So basically, I mean, if you want to buy a number of decks trying to find a more powerful deck, yes, you can do that. There is obviously an aspect where spending some more money means you could end up with a better deck. But overall, the entry point to the game was very, very cost effective. There's no secondary market for singles because there literally can't be one. There's a secondary market where people sell entire decks. But in all honesty, the only thing that really affected the secondary market was people getting hyped about Four Horsemen deck. And even the strongest decks, like the Four Horsemen decks, they're not overwhelmingly overpowered to the point where you buy one of these decks, you're never going to lose games and you're always going to win. There is no pay to win aspect of KeyForge. Now, the funny thing is KeyForge suffered from its own success. KeyForge was such an incredible product in terms of sales that they sold out everywhere. So people couldn't tell if the product had left the shelves because nobody was buying it and nobody was playing it, or if because it was all gone. We see so many games like show up and then just poof, they're gone, right? Well, KeyForge sold amazingly. And what's really nice is KeyForge has a focus on local game stores, playing locally. So they encourage you. Literally, when you go to Fantasy Flight's website, they would encourage you to go to a store and buy a deck directly from a store instead of buying it from Fantasy Flight Games. So basically, you would go to a store and you could buy the deck for $10, or you would go online and buy the deck for $10, and the company would say, hold on, before we sell you this deck online, you should probably try and get it in person at a store. How amazing is that? You've got Artifact, where they're like, we're going to charge you for every single thing. And then you've got Fantasy Flight, who are the creators of KeyForge, along with Richard Garfield, saying, you know what? Go to the store. Yes, we will get less of a cut because we sold them to the stores and the store will get some of the money as well. But we want to support local environments. Now, there's a part of me that doesn't like the reward system that they're using, but it is also designed to get people to come out to events and engage in person. So it's kind of a double-sided, it's a double-edged sword, I suppose. There's some things about it I like, some things that I don't like. But KeyForge is pretty much as non-greedy as you can get for a card game, honestly. Basically, it's based on Richard Garfield's vision. Originally, he wanted to have this kind of thing with Magic, where the sealed environment would literally be unchangeable decks. Here you go, you've got what you got, and it stays that way. So this is really, KeyForge is the birth of a part of Magic the Gathering that never got to exist the way that it was envisioned by Richard Garfield. Richard Garfield is not a fan of how expensive Magic singles have become, anything of that nature. So for him, this was a home run. This was bringing what he wanted to the people. It's an affordable game where you can just go grab yourself a deck off of the shelf. Boom, here we go. Now I'm in the event. I've got everything I need. And people can only have decks that are more powerful than me through random fluke. I can only have a more powerful deck than random fluke through them. The decks all have their own personalities. It's a really interesting game, in all honesty. If you haven't tried out KeyForge, I would recommend giving it a try. You may find the concept of, oh, I can't build my deck, I don't like that. But once you try the game, you may feel differently. It's called a unique deck game, and it genuinely is a unique concept. So we have one game where everything you need, $10, and you're good. That's it. You're good to go. You just need some dice or like pennies or whatever to use as counters on cards, but literally all you have to buy is a deck. Then you've got Artifact, and the entry price just to buy Artifact, twice the cost of a KeyForge deck. $20 just to get you in the door, and then every single thing that you want to do is going to cost you money. There's literally no way to increase your collection at all without paying more money. It's the greediest card game I've ever seen in my life, in all honesty. Artifact is so insanely greedy that it serves as the perfect contrast. $10, everything you need. $20 just gets you in the door. It's like they tried. I think of Artifact the same way that I think of games that were basically like, for $60, we're going to sell you this game. But it's not really the game. It's like a content delivery service. So you're just paying us for the privilege of paying us more. And that is why Artifact failed miserably. Artifact crashed and burned, and it's deserved to. Because while all companies obviously intend to make a profit, that's the point of running a company, they were there to bleed you dry. It's not about you having fun. It's not about you building a collection. None of that. It's literally just keep paying us, keep paying us, keep paying us. Microtransaction, the card game, with zero ability to get anything for free. Which blows my mind. I don't know how you can copy a game like Magic the Gathering and think that you're like Magic the Gathering, even after 25 years and the pedigree the game has, couldn't turn around and run with the model that Artifact had. They literally, like Magic the Gathering wouldn't be able to get away with it. It wouldn't work. If you look at Magic's platforms, Arena, MTGO, they both show you that you can't constantly charge for every single thing. There needs to be aspects of the game where you can just play and have fun for free. If you expect every single time for someone to have fun to hand you money for every single thing, it's going to fall apart. And that's exactly what happened with Artifact. It was insanely greedy from the get-go. I honestly feel bad for Richard Garfield for being involved with that, because I guarantee that that's not the way that he wanted things to turn out. He came up with a cool concept for a card game. They made it into a sleek, visually beautiful game. And that's the real tragedy here. Artifact could have been huge. It could have been amazing. It could have compete on the level with Arena or Hearthstone, any of those games, if they hadn't just had their eyes solely focused on the customer's wallet. Like looking up, like, you want me to look up? Pay me, bro. You want me to look you in the eye? Pay me, bro. Like, that's it. Artifact is pay me, bro. And KeyForge is $10, here you go. And there's a huge difference. There is a world of difference. And there's a reason that KeyForge succeeded so wildly that people were desperate to buy stuff from them. Think about that. Valve wanted all the money. People left out of disgust. KeyForge, people wanted to give them more money, but couldn't because it was sold out everywhere. Honestly, KeyForge reminded me of Magic the Gathering in the very, very beginning, where it was just hard to get your hands on and everybody wanted it. Everybody wanted to play it. Like, KeyForge went over amazingly. I actually have a bag here where I was sent out. I've got all kinds of neat little KeyForge things. I've got like promo cards that they sent out. I've got real amber that I was sent to use playing the game. I have all kinds of KeyForge decks. I have no regret over getting into the KeyForge game. I have an Artifact account. I don't care about it. I genuinely don't care. I have no interest in it because I know, based on how poorly it was managed and the absolute lack of interest from players now, that what's the point of having it? What's the point of having a game that nobody's playing, right? If you go on Twitch right now, you will find nobody streaming it. It's a ghost town. The game is done. They destroyed it themselves with absolute greed. Whereas KeyForge, I can see that going on for however long they want to create it. I'm already I got annoyed with them for a bit, but I'm already looking forward to the next expansion, the next set coming out. You know why? All I have to do, go down and pick up a deck and I'm good to go. I know I can just grab one of the blue boxes with the new decks, crack it open, sit down and play and have a good time. And nobody's going to come and be like, come on, give me more money. Oh, you want to do something else? Give me more money. Keep paying, keep paying, keep paying. It's absolutely insane to me that Artifact even exists in its current form. And I am hopeful that in the future, they will find a way to revamp it so they don't have to give up on the mechanics and the actual lovely nature of the game, because it is visually nice to look at. But at the end of the day, none of that matters. If you did, it's like having you got two women and they're both attractive. One's more beautiful, but she also wants you to give her money constantly for everything. And the other one's like, hey, give me $10 once. Wait a minute, this actually makes them sound like they're ladies of the night. That might not be the best comparison, but you guys get what I'm saying. Check out KeyForge. Forget about Artifact. It's a very interesting case study of success and failure in the card game industry based on greed, and it's all tied together all through Richard Garfield. And since Richard Garfield created Magic the Gathering, it all ties everything together. You got games that were inspired by Magic the Gathering that also involved the creator of Magic the Gathering. One is soaring to the heights of success with millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of sales, and the other is languishing down in a pit of despair. The one that didn't get greedy got all the money. The one that got greedy got nada. They got their initial burst of cash, and then they had to let everybody go and go, we're going to work on it. We'll be back in like 6 months or something. It's just a debacle. Artifact was an absolute failure. At this point, that's really all I have to say about both subjects. Or not both subjects, this subject, I should say. So, let's roll the golden scroll. The people who have my back on Patreon or through channel memberships, thank you very much for supporting my channel. Since we're talking about video games here, if you like video games, my lovely lady has a channel called Carlsberg Review, where she does a lot of fun videos. She does trash or treasure videos where she will tell you if a game is garbage or goodness, and she likes attention, so she's rolling on in. There you go, things just got pretty. So check her out, she does the goodness. I'll link her channel at the end of the video. And on that note, we're history, baby. Wave to the people, Carly. Oh, isn't she cute? All right, get the hell out of here.